I enjoy using Anchor podcasting services. For one, it's an easy setup. Secondly, you can do everything on the same platform, which includes record and then add music to your podcast if you like. And once your podcast has been saved, you can then distribute it to other platforms with the click of a button. And did I mention that it's free? You couldn't ask for anything better than this. Thank you for tuning into Bringing the Heat with Regina Weston. Here we inspire and deal with topics that matter. Stay tuned. I want to talk about relationships. There are many forms of relationships, but in this instant, I'm talking about marriage. So I was watching the program, and this couple were going to try to stay together for the sake of the children. And so the therapist was asking them questions like, if you didn't have children, would you be married? And both of them said no. Then he asked the woman, well, do you love him? And she said nothing. And her nothing response was no, because if you love someone, you could just say yes. So they asked the man, do you love her? And he was like, well, I love her, but I'm not in love with her. And so they went on to ask the woman, do you want to get a divorce? And she was like, well, if things don't work out, I would get a divorce. So that leads me into this. There are many reasons as to why people stay connected in a marriage. Sometimes it's kids. Sometimes it's because of financial issues. In this day and time, most times you need two incomes to make the household work. So it made me think, because the therapist also asked the question, if you were to die today, would you be dying happy? And the male answered the question by saying that he would be dying a sad individual. I was like, wow, that's deep. And so in self-reflecting, all of 2021, I've been working on myself. And I had decided to cut ties with things or people that no longer serve me in a healthy manner. Because sometimes we can have friendships, we could be in relationships that don't serve us. But I want to focus on marriage. So this is real talk because I want somebody to learn something. It seems as though when you get married, now this is not for all couples. When you get married, it seems like there's love there. But the longer you're together, sometimes there comes a disconnect. It could be from the woman's side or it can be from the male side. And sometimes it seems as though one partner may love the other more than the other person loved them. And so the person that loves them is always trying to make things work. But at some point in time, even that person that loves them, they get tired. You know why? Because people get tired. And at some point you begin to grow. And as you grow, I like to say, when you learn better, you try to do better. Or you should do better. So people live together and then they just coexist in a loveless marriage. And based on that question, if you were to die today, would you die unhappy? Wow. Can you imagine the many people that are in relationships and marriages and they are unhappy? Wow. And I just wanted to talk about that. I realize being married that you cannot make nobody love you. Either they love you or they don't. Now, if you continue to stay together, you're in a loveless marriage, coexisting. And the question is, why? If a person is so unhappy with their mate, why would you stay? If you're no longer in love with that individual, the relationship is no longer serving you, why would you stay? There are so many men, there are so many women out here that can love you or serve you with the desires of your heart. Why would you stay in a relationship where you're not happy and in turn you make the person that you don't want to be with miserable? Ain't that something to think about? You don't want me, but you don't want to leave. You don't want me, but you don't want nobody else to have me. Isn't that something? That's deep. Why do people do that? I have come to the conclusion that people stay in relationships even though they're unhappy because it's something in that relationship that serves them. They're just comfortable because you pay bills together. You're connected to in-laws, and so you're an actor. You're an actor. You're playing a part. You're playing a role. When you're around family, you act like, oh, we're so not so in love, but we're connected. We're in tune, and soon you're no longer in the presence of family or friends. Then y'all both take y'all separate corners. It's like a boxing match. Y'all boxing, and soon as they ring the bell, y'all both take y'all corners and y'all do your own thing, and you prepare for the next time the bell or an event. I'm using metaphors. The bell rings and family comes, then you jump up and you act like y'all all in tune. Why don't people just leave the relationship? Just leave. So I was reading 10 Things I Wish I Would Have Known Before I Went Out into the Real World by Maria Shriver. Well, one of the things she said in her book was that Arnold Schwarzenegger told her, don't look for me to make you happy now. And that's true. Many times we get in relationships and we look for people to make us happy. We really do. When they can bring something to our lives, and being in a relationship and interacting, doing certain things can bring you joy. However, you have to already be whole when you get in a relationship with someone. If you're looking for that person to make you happy, I'm here to tell you, baby, you're going to be one sad sap. Because the one thing I can tell you about men, they're going to do their own thing. You will be a second thought. And if you sit home and you're waiting for them to put you on their calendar, you're going to keep waiting. My advice to you is to get yourself together and get you a life. Get you a hobby. Start doing some things that fulfill you. You have to do things to make you happy. And you cannot base your happiness solely on your partner. You have to create a life for yourself so that you can be happy. You can stay in a relationship if you choose to, but start doing some things that fulfill you. There's no reason for you to be in a relationship and be unhappy while the other person is living their life. When you sit on your seat of regret and you think about all the things that you did for people and they just took and took and took, say when you go to the bank is your heart, okay? So when you deposit money, you deposit in love, care, affection, commitment, all those things that make a relationship. But then, for some reason, they stop making deposits and they start making withdrawals. They start missing anniversaries. They start doing their own thing. You become a ghost to them. It's just withdrawal on top of withdrawal. Because you're hurt. You're not used to that. You're hurt. And so now you're in a position where you're constantly trying to deposit. And every time you put a deposit slip in, it's kicking out. It's kicking out. It's kicking out. What do, baby? What you do is start realizing that you deserve better. And you start doing things to make you feel better. That's what you do. You start living your life. And you start doing things that make you happy. Things that bring about fulfillment. That's what you do. Do not, and I repeat, do not look for someone to complete you. Because people got issues. People got childhood issues. People have issues and baggage that they bring from other relationships. And then they bring into marriages, and then they bring into relationships. And then at some point, that stuff start to fester and grow. You don't deserve that. So if you're a person that's experiencing what I am describing, just think about that question that I posed. Are you in a loveless relationship and you're coexisting? And if you was to close your eyes tomorrow, you will be unhappy? And if the answer to that is yes, baby, start doing things to make you happy. You know why? Because you deserve to be happy. You have a life to live too. Why not live it? Don't live it chasing somebody. that is not worthy of your love.
Thank you, Bringing the Heat listeners. To listen to this podcast, go to anchorfm.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play, where we bring